The unfathomable collapse, how one just shattered my world. I could never have imagined my marriage would crumble due to a mere jest. Not after we had weathered stock market crashes, sleepless nights with newborns, and the daunting mortgage on our dream home. Yet that fateful Sunday at my in-laws' house changed everything. My wife's laughter, sharp as a surgeon's blade, pierced my heart as she transformed me into a public spectacle. My name is Nathan Brooks. I am 45 years old, and for the past decade I've relentlessly clawed my way up the corporate ladder at Meriden Financial Partners, nestled in the heart of Boston. To most, my life paints a picture of success. A beautiful suburban home, well-behaved children, a stunning wife, the very embodiment of the American dream, isn't it? But behind closed doors, perfection was a distant mirage. Gloria and I met when we were in our early 30s. She was a fourth-grade teacher at a private school, fiercely passionate about shaping young minds. I, however, was already immersed in the world of financial analysis, crunching numbers and forecasting market trends for clients whose fortunes boasted more zeros than I could fathom. When we became engaged, we had the essential conversation every couple should. What kind of life do we envision for ourselves? We quickly reached a consensus. With my earning potential and her desire to fully dedicate herself to our future, Gloria would leave teaching once we started a family. I would focus on being the primary breadwinner, and she would manage our household. It seemed a flawless arrangement, and for the first couple of years it was. Marvin arrived 5 years ago, and Gloria plunged into motherhood as if born for it. 2 years later, Melinda joined our family, transforming our home into a whirlwind of sippy cups, plush toys, and sleepless nights. I couldn't have been prouder of the life we had painstakingly built together. My work at Meridian, however, grew increasingly demanding. Every promotion brought longer hours, greater responsibility, and higher stakes. During earnings season, I was fortunate if I saw the children awake. I would drag myself home after an 11-hour day, my brain scorched from endless spreadsheets and the ceaseless task of calming jittery investors. Most nights I'd collapse onto the couch, barely capable of forming a coherent sentence. But that was our agreement, wasn't it? I brought home the money, paid the mortgage on our colonial home in Newton, funded the children's college accounts, and ensured Gloria could buy everything organic at Whole Foods without a second glance at the price tag. In return, she managed the household, doctor's appointments, playdates, meal planning, and ensuring Marvin and Melinda thrived. I never considered myself an absent father. When I had the time, I immersed myself fully in their world, building blanket forts, reading bedtime stories, the full gamut. But the undeniable truth was that Gloria knew the children's routines like the back of her hand. She knew exactly which stuffed animal Melinda needed to fall asleep, and how precisely Marvin's sandwiches had to be cut for him to eat them. The genesis of ruin. Looking back, I believe that's when it truly began. Those subtle remarks that at first seemed so innocent. "Nate, darling, you're putting Melinda's shoes on the wrong feet." "Sweetheart, Marvin can't have peanut butter before bed, you know that." They were just corrections, right? Just Gloria ensuring everything ran smoothly. But somewhere along the way, these helpful hints twisted into something more. Something that, little by little, began to erode me in ways I didn't fully grasp until it was almost too late. It started small, as these things often do. A chuckle here, an eye roll there. Nothing overtly alarming. The first time I genuinely noticed it was a Saturday morning about a year ago. Gloria had gone to the salon, her first alone time in weeks, leaving me with detailed instructions for the children. Feed Marvin his gluten-free waffles, ensure Melinda took her vitamins, the usual routine. I'd handled the children alone before. It was no big deal. "Just try not to burn the house down," she joked, grabbing her purse. I laughed along, kissed her goodbye, and thought nothing more of it. When she returned 3 hours later, the house was still standing, though admittedly in disarray. Melinda had decided yogurt looked better in her hair than in her mouth, and Marvin had constructed what he called a pillow kingdom in the living room. I was mid-damage control operation when Gloria walked in. She surveyed the scene, hands on her hips, and burst into laughter. "Oh, Nate, I leave you alone for 3 hours and it's Lord of the Flies all over again." I chuckled along with her. What else was there to do? The children were happy, if a little sticky, and no one was hurt. Mission accomplished in my book. That evening, I overheard her on the phone with her sister. You should have seen it, Cynthia. It was as if Nate had never looked after his own children before. A complete deer in headlights. Men, honestly? Something about the way she said it grated on me. I wasn't some clueless sitcom dad who couldn't figure out which end of a diaper to change. But I brushed it off. Everyone exaggerates to their siblings. The jokes turned sharp. A few weeks later, I arrived home early from work, a minor miracle given my usual schedule, and decided to surprise the family by preparing dinner. Nothing fancy, just spaghetti and meatballs, one of the few dishes I could make without a recipe. When Gloria walked into the kitchen and saw me browning the meat, her eyebrows shot up. Well, look who thinks he's Gordon Ramsay tonight. She pulled out her phone. This needs to be documented for posterity. A rare sighting. Nathan Brooks in his natural habitat attempting to cook. She snapped several photos, laughing all the while. I tried to play along, even mugged for the camera a bit, but something about being treated like an exotic animal in a zoo for performing a basic adult task didn't sit right. Later that evening, as we ate dinner, which by the way turned out quite decent if I do say so myself, Gloria continued the jesting. Careful, kids, Daddy made this, so we should probably check every bite for eggshells or mysterious objects. Marvin giggled. Daddy messed up again? The word hung in the air. My 5-year-old son already had the impression that my attempts at anything domestic automatically equated to failure. I forced a smile and changed the subject. It wasn't worth making a fuss over. Besides, it was just a joke, right? Over the next few months, the comments grew more frequent and cut deeper. Gloria's jokes evolved from gentle teasing into something that felt calculated to undermine me. One evening in September, I came home after a particularly grueling day. The market had tanked, clients were panicking, and my boss had me working on contingency plans until well past closing. I dragged myself through the front door, desperate for a moment of peace. Instead, I found Melinda in full meltdown mode. Her favorite stuffed bunny was missing, and the world was, evidently, ending because of it. "Hey, princess," I said, dropping my briefcase and dropping to her level. "Let's find Mr. Hoppy together." Her sobs quieted as I methodically searched the house. From experience, I knew the rabbit usually ended up under furniture or in the laundry basket. Sure enough, after 15 minutes of searching, I found him, wedged between the couch cushions. Melinda's face lit up as I handed her the toy. I felt a surge of satisfaction. I might not be around as much as I'd like, but I could still come through for my children when it mattered. Gloria walked in just as Melinda was hugging me in gratitude. "Well, look at that," she said, leaning against the doorframe. "Nathan Brooks, financial wizard by day, barely competent dad by night." The words stung. I had just successfully navigated a crisis, albeit a minor one, and instead of acknowledgement, I received another jab. "Very funny," I retorted, my tone sharper than I intended. Gloria raised an eyebrow. "Goodness, someone can't take a joke today." I bit back a response. I was too tired for an argument. The seeds of doubt. The pattern continued. When I took the children to the park on a Saturday and returned with Marvin sporting a scraped knee from falling off the monkey bars, Gloria dramatically sighed. "I swear, Nate, I can't trust you with them for 3 hours without someone getting hurt." Never mind that I had handled the situation perfectly. Cleaned the wound, applied a bandage, and turned Marvin's tears into laughter by letting him choose a battle scar Band-Aid. When I struggled to recall Marvin's teacher's name during a phone conversation, Gloria rolled her eyes and muttered to a friend, "Hopeless." Each remark was like a paper cut, insignificant on its own, but increasingly painful as they accumulated. One evening, as I helped Marvin with his kindergarten homework, he looked up at me with genuine surprise when I explained a math concept. "Wow, Daddy, you're actually good at this," he exclaimed. Actually, it hit me like a punch to the gut. My 5-year-old son was already surprised that his father could be competent at anything beyond work, and I knew exactly where he got that impression. I straightened my shoulders and looked my son in the eye. "Buddy, I'm good at a lot of things. I might not always be here, but that doesn't mean I don't know how to take care of you and your sister." Later, when I mentioned the incident to Gloria, she brushed it off. Oh, come on, he's 5. Don't be so sensitive. But it wasn't about sensitivity. It was about respect. And I was beginning to realize how little of it I was receiving at home. Public humiliation. What had once been private remarks between Gloria and me soon became public entertainment. Every social gathering, it seemed, became an opportunity for her to showcase my perceived parental incompetence. The first time it happened was at a neighborhood barbecue. I was manning the grill, the one area where I possess some modicum of confidence, when Melinda ran up with a scraped elbow from a fall on the driveway. I immediately went into dad mode, cleaned the scrape with a water-dampened napkin, found a Band-Aid in my wallet. I'd started carrying them specifically for such eventualities, and had her giggling again within minutes. Gloria approached with a gaggle of neighborhood moms just as I was finishing. "Ladies, behold a truly rare sight," she announced theatrically. "Nathan actually handling a minor emergency without calling for backup." The women chuckled, and I forced a smile as something twisted in my gut. What should have been a simple moment of fatherhood had been turned into a performance. The following weekend, we were at dinner with my colleagues from Meridian. These were people I needed to impress, whose respect was crucial for my career. Gloria had promised to be on her best behavior. Halfway through the meal, the conversation turned to family life. My boss mentioned how difficult it was to balance work and home duties. "Tell me about it," Gloria laughed. "Nate can analyze market trends like no one else, but ask him to pick out an outfit for Melinda and suddenly he's completely lost. Last week he sent her to kindergarten in pajama bottoms and a princess tiara." A burst of laughter erupted around the table. It wasn't even true. Melinda had insisted on the tiara, and the pants were leggings that looked like pajamas. "I figured the battle wasn't worth fighting that morning," I said evenly, trying to maintain my composure. The kids were dressed and fed. Mission accomplished. My boss clapped me on the shoulder. "Don't worry, Brooks. I won't send my kid to school with an empty lunchbox. We all make mistakes sometimes." His attempt at camaraderie only highlighted what Gloria had achieved. She had painted me as an incompetent father, prone to fumbling even the most basic childcare tasks. In reality, I handled whatever came my way when I was home, from nighttime scares to homework woes and impromptu dinners when we were out of groceries. The final straw came during Marvin's parent-teacher conference. Miss Winters was explaining his progress in reading when she mentioned him bringing home advanced books. "That's all Nathan," Gloria interjected before I could say anything. "He's already trying to turn our 5-year-old into a financial analyst. I'm constantly telling him, 'Honey, normal kids read Goodnight Moon, not the Wall Street Journal.'" Miss Winters looked visibly uncomfortable. "Actually, I think it's wonderful. Marvin's vocabulary is exceptional for his age." I straightened in my chair. "We read together every night when I'm home," I stated firmly. "Marvin chooses the books. I just make time for it." The revelation and the retreat. On the drive home, I finally said, "Do you have to make a mockery of me at every single opportunity?" Gloria seemed genuinely surprised. "What are you talking about? I'm just making conversation." "No, you're making me look like an idiot and it needs to stop." She rolled her eyes. "You need to lighten up, Nate. It's just innocent fun." But gripping the steering wheel, I knew there was nothing innocent about it. The damage was already spreading beyond our home. I began to notice a disturbing pattern in how others interacted with me. Gloria's jokes had spread like a virus, infecting everyone's perception of me as a father. At Marvin's soccer practice, Coach Thompson handed out the season schedule and went straight to me. "Brooks, I've highlighted the important dates," he said slowly, as if talking to a child. "Gloria mentioned you might need extra reminders." My jaw tightened. I never missed the games I could make, and I kept a meticulous calendar. "I manage multi-billion-dollar portfolios, Thompson," I replied calmly. "I think I can handle a soccer schedule." He looked stunned, and I instantly regretted my tone. But damn it, I was tired of being treated like an imbecile. Even my own mother began to fall prey to the narrative. During her monthly visit, she fretted anxiously as I prepared Melinda's lunch. "Nate, dear, are you sure that's enough food? Gloria says she's having a growth spurt." Mom, I feed my children every day, I said, trying not to raise my voice. I'm fairly familiar with their appetites. The real gut punch came when I overheard Marvin talking to a friend during a play date. My dad's really smart about money, he said proudly, and my heart swelled. Then came the kicker. But Mom says he'd lose his head if it wasn't attached when it comes to everything else. The decision and the confrontation. That night I stared at the ceiling, unable to sleep. How had I let it go on for so long? My own son was echoing Gloria's dismissive attitude. What would happen as the children grew older? Would they stop coming to me with their problems, assuming I couldn't handle anything beyond financial matters? More importantly, why was I allowing my wife to systematically undermine me? I had built my career on commanding respect, making tough decisions, and standing my ground. Yet at home I had become a laughingstock. The truth hit me like a freight train. I was afraid. Afraid that pushing back would lead to conflict. Afraid that demanding respect might damage our family dynamic. Afraid that perhaps Gloria was right, and I truly was a poor father. But another, stronger part of me knew better. I coached Marvin's soccer team when work allowed. I taught Melinda how to swim last summer, spending hours in the pool until she could confidently paddle to the steps. I read financial reports aloud to lull them to sleep when they were infants, for crying out loud. I was a damn good father. Different from Gloria, certainly, but no less capable. And it was time I started acting like it. The next morning I made a decision. The jokes had to stop. Not just for my sake, but for our children, who deserve to see both their parents treated with respect. I just needed the right moment to talk about it. The opportunity to speak with Gloria arrived sooner than I anticipated. After a particularly draining day at Meridian, which included calming panicked clients during a market correction, I arrived home to an unusually quiet house. Gloria was alone in the kitchen, scrolling through her phone. The children were at her mother's for the evening. "Hey," I said, loosening my tie. "Where are the kids?" "Mom took them for ice cream and a movie. I needed a break." She looked up. "You look awful. Rough day?" I poured myself a whiskey, pausing to collect my thoughts. "Actually, Gloria, can we talk?" She raised an eyebrow. "Sounds serious." I sat opposite her at the kitchen island. "It's about the jokes." "What jokes?" "The ones about me being clueless with the kids, about me not being able to do anything right outside of work." Gloria rolled her eyes. "Oh, come on, Nate, not this again." "Yes, this again," I said firmly, "because it's not just between us anymore. It's affecting how everyone sees me, the kids, other parents, even my own mother." She crossed her arms. "You're being too sensitive." "No, I'm not sensitive," I insisted, keeping my voice level. "When Marvin starts repeating to his friends that I'd lose my head if it wasn't attached, we have a problem." For a moment, something akin to recognition flickered across her face, then her defenses snapped back into place. "It's just innocent teasing, Nate. Everyone jokes about their spouse. Half the moms at school complain about their husbands." "But that's the point," I said. "I'm not like half the husbands. When I'm home, I'm present, I'm involved. I don't deserve to be your personal punching bag." Gloria's phone chimed. She glanced at it, then stood up. "Look, I don't want to fight about this. You've had a long day and you're clearly on edge." "I'm not on edge," I said, frustration mounting. "I'm trying to have an honest conversation about something that's hurting me and our family." "Hurting you?" She laughed incredulously. "I'm acknowledging reality, Nate. You work 70 hours a week. You miss school events. You don't know the kids' schedules because you're not home most of the time." Her words hit like physical blows. "Yes, I worked long hours, but that was our agreement, our bargain. And when I was home, I gave the children everything I had." "That's unfair." My voice was strained. "We agreed I would focus on providing for the family. That doesn't make me less of a father." Gloria grabbed her keys from the counter. "I need to go get the kids. We can talk about this another time when you're not being so dramatic." As she walked out, leaving me alone with my untouched whiskey, I realized the conversation had utterly failed. She hadn't heard me. Or worse, she had heard, but she didn't care. Either way, nothing had changed. The Breaking Point Sunday brunch at Gloria's parents' house had been a tradition since before the children were born. Usually, I looked forward to these gatherings. Her father was a retired investment banker with excellent stories, and her mother made French toast that could make a grown man weep. On this particular Sunday, however, I was on edge. My failed attempt to talk to Gloria had left me feeling raw, and I dreaded another Nathan the incompetent dad public performance. We arrived with the children, Marvin clutching his latest Lego creation, and Melinda clad in a tutu she'd refused to remove for 3 consecutive days. "There they are!" Gloria's mother hugged the children while her father clapped me on the shoulder. For the first hour, everything was fine. We ate, exchanged pleasantries, and watched the children play with their cousins. I began to relax, thinking that perhaps today would be different. I should have known better. As Gloria helped her mother clear the plates, Marvin ran in from the yard with a scraped knee. Nothing serious, but he was seeking comfort. He came straight to me. I scooped him up, examined the scrape, and carried him to the bathroom to clean it. By the time we returned, Marvin proudly sporting a superhero Band-Aid, Gloria was regaling the assembled family with a story. And I came home to find Nathan had given Melinda chocolate milk right before bed. Can you imagine the outcome? The sheets looked like something out of a horror movie. Everyone laughed. I clenched my jaw, remembering the incident. Melinda had been sick, refusing to drink anything else. The doctor had been more concerned about dehydration than clean sheets. Then last week, Gloria continued, warming to her subject, he tried to help with the laundry and turned all of Marvin's white school shirts pink. More laughter. The laundry incident had been an honest mistake, a rogue red sock of Melinda's hidden in a pillowcase. I'd already replaced the shirts. I swear it's like having 3 children instead of 2. I can't leave them alone with basic household tasks. Stop! The word exploded from me, harsher than I'd intended. The room fell silent. Nate? Gloria looked bewildered. Just stop. I set Marvin down gently. Stop turning me into a joke for your family's entertainment. Her father cleared his throat awkwardly. Let's give these 2 a moment, he suggested, ushering everyone onto the patio. When we were alone, Gloria's bewilderment morphed into anger. What is wrong with you? What is wrong with me? I kept my voice steady, despite the rage churning within. You have systematically undermined me as a father for months. You've made me a laughingstock, and I am through with it. They're just stories, Nate. Lighten up. No, I stood my ground. They are not just stories. They are disrespectful. They are hurtful. And they are teaching our children that it's okay to ridicule their father. She rolled her eyes. You're being dramatic. Something snapped inside me. Is it dramatic to want basic respect from my wife? Is it dramatic to expect you to build me up, not tear me down? If so, then yes, I am being dramatic. I grabbed my car keys from the table. I need some air. Where are you going? Her voice had lost its earlier sharpness, a hint of uncertainty in its tone. I don't know, I said honestly, but I can't stay here and pretend everything is okay. As I walked out the door, passing her bewildered family on the porch, I felt a strange mixture of guilt and relief. In my head, I silently bade farewell to the version of myself who would have swallowed his pride and laughed along. That man was gone. I found myself at the Harborview Hotel, a mid-range establishment near the financial district where we often housed out-of-town clients. The desk clerk recognized me from corporate events and asked no questions when I requested a room without specifying. Once alone, I texted Gloria. Staying at the Harborview. Need time to think. We'll call kids before bed. Her reply came quickly. You're being ridiculous. The kids are confused. I didn't respond. Instead, I called my assistant and arranged for a delivery of clothes and toiletries from the department store next door. Then I took a long shower and tried to clear my head. That evening, I called home as promised. Gloria put the children on speakerphone, and I did my best to sound cheerful. When are you coming home, Daddy? Melinda asked, her tiny voice squeezing my chest. Soon, Princess. Daddy just has some work to finish. After reassuring both of them and promising to bring surprises, I ended the call before Gloria could speak again. 3 days passed in a strange suspended animation. I went to work, performed my duties with mechanical precision, and then returned to my hotel room each night. I called the children diligently, but conversations with Gloria were short and to the point. On the fourth day, my phone rang during lunch. Gloria's father's name flashed across the screen. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. "Nathan, it's Robert. Got a minute?" I braced myself for a lecture on marital responsibility. Instead, I was met with a surprising confession. "I want you to know I understand why you left," he said without preamble. "You do?" Gloria's mother used to do the same thing to me. Not exactly the same jokes, but the same pattern, making me out to be a fool in every story, laughing at my expense. I nearly dropped my fork. "How did you handle it?" "Not well at first," he admitted. "I simmered, I sulked, I worked longer hours, but eventually I did what you did. I confronted it head on." "It doesn't seem to have changed much," I said bitterly. "It will," he assured me. "Gloria's stubborn, she gets that from her mother, but she's also smart. She's starting to realize what she was doing." I wanted to believe him, but the skepticism must have shown in my silence. "She's been quiet these last few days," Robert continued thoughtfully. "She told her mother she might have been a little hard on you." For Gloria, that was practically a full admission. Against all odds, I felt a flicker of hope. "Did she say anything to the kids?" "Actually, that's why I'm calling. I overheard her telling Marvin that Daddy works hard to take care of us and we need to appreciate that more." Not exactly an apology, but a start. After we hung up, I sat staring at my cooling lunch. Was this enough? Was a slight shift in attitude worth returning home for? The answer wasn't simple, but one thing was clear. Running away solved nothing. If Gloria was truly reflecting on her behavior, perhaps there was a chance for a real conversation, and if not, well, I had already proven I could walk away if necessary. That night I texted Gloria, "Coming home tomorrow. We need to talk." Her reply was unusually subdued. "Okay. The kids miss you." "I miss you all too." On the path to restoration. The house looked exactly the same when I returned, but something had shifted. Perhaps it was me. Gloria was waiting in the kitchen, a tentative smile on her face. The children were at school, a deliberate choice, I suspected, to give us space to talk. "Coffee?" she offered. I nodded, taking a seat at the kitchen island. For a moment, neither of us spoke a word. "Your father called me," I said at last. Gloria's eyebrows rose. "He did? He told me he understood why I left, that your mother used to do the same thing to him." She turned away, fussing with the coffee maker. "He never told me that." "Maybe he didn't know how to bring it up. Or maybe you thought it wasn't that important." I took the mug she offered me. "Just like you thought it wasn't that important to me." Gloria sat opposite me, her eyes meeting mine directly for the first time in months. "I've been thinking about what you said." I waited, allowing her the space to continue. "I didn't see how the jokes were accumulating, how they were affecting you." She traced the rim of her mug with her finger. "But when you left, I started replaying everything. The look on your face at my parents' house, Marvin repeating my words. It wasn't just about my feelings," I said gently. "It was about our family. Kids absorb everything, Gloria. When you treat me as incompetent, they learn to see me that way too." She nodded slowly. "I know, and I'm sorry, Nate. Truly." The sincerity in her voice caught me off guard. I had braced myself for defensiveness, for minimization, not a direct apology. "What changed?" I asked. "Marvin asked me if you left because you were mad at him for saying you'd lose your head if it wasn't attached." Her voice wavered. He was worried it was his fault. That's when I realized what I was teaching him. Something tight in my chest began to loosen. This was progress, real progress. "Where do we go from here?" I asked. "I want to do better," she said simply. "I've already started. I told the kids how hard you work for us, how smart you are about so many things, not just money." It wasn't a complete resolution, but it was a beginning. The path ahead would require vigilance from both of us. My willingness to speak up when hurt, her readiness to break a destructive habit. I missed you, she admitted softly. The house doesn't feel right without you. I reached across the island to take her hand. I missed you too, but I can't go back to the way things were. I know, she said, and I don't want to either. I want us to be better. For the first time in months, I believed it was possible. A new chapter 6 months after my hotel stay, life had found a new rhythm. The changes weren't dramatic or instantaneous, true change rarely is. But day by day, conversation by conversation, Gloria and I rebuilt something stronger than what we had before. The jokes didn't vanish overnight, old habits die hard. But now when Gloria started to slip into that familiar pattern, she caught herself. Sometimes I saw her physically bite her tongue. Other times she rephrased mid-sentence, transforming what could have been a jab at my expense into something more neutral or even supportive. More importantly, she began actively supporting me in front of the children. Daddy's really good at explaining math problems, Marvin. Why don't you ask him for help with your homework? Or, did you know your father taught himself to cook in college? He makes the best omelets. These small affirmations healed wounds I hadn't even realized were still bleeding. For my part, I made changes too. I started leaving work early on Wednesdays to coach Marvin's soccer team. I scheduled regular daddy-daughter dates with Melinda. I learned Gloria's intricate household systems instead of relying on her to translate them for me. The true test came during the annual neighborhood block party. As we chatted with neighbors, someone asked about our recent family vacation to Cape Cod. Nate planned the whole thing, Gloria said, her hand finding mine. He found this amazing little beach house and arranged sailing lessons for the kids. He thinks of details I'd never even consider. The warmth that spread through me had nothing to do with the summer heat. This was what partnership felt like, having someone highlight your strengths, not ridicule your weaknesses. Later that night, after the children were asleep, Gloria and I sat on the porch swing, watching fireflies ascend from the lawn. We almost lost it, she said quietly. If you hadn't stood up for yourself. But I did, I gently interrupted. And you listened. That's what matters. She leaned her head on my shoulder. I never meant to hurt you, Nate. I just didn't realize how much those jokes were costing us. The cost had indeed been high. My dignity, my children's respect, the very foundation of our marriage. But we had managed to pull back from the brink. I'm glad you came home, she whispered. I held her tighter. I'm glad I had something worth coming home to. We weren't perfect and we never would be. But we had learned something profoundly important. In a marriage, words matter. Respect matters. And sometimes fighting for that respect, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it means a temporary retreat, is the most crucial battle a man can win. Ladies and gentlemen, since you've listened to the end of this story, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments which state you're watching from. Let's see what percentage of elite viewers make it to the end.